Is it really good to have the Canadian Prime Minister, soon to be ex, standing in front of his people saying, hey, we thought we were friends. This is not how you treat allies. Because in that scenario, fine, you won your deal. But what's your long-term damage?
Should we put him in charge of the Treasury? No, because just because you're smart, if that's even true, doesn't necessarily mean that we should give you the keys to the kingdom.
And here's the thing, I love this discussion, I love it. Because we're saying, what should we do? We shouldn't give him the keys to the kingdom. We shouldn't do this.
As a real estate magnate, and then with television contracts, and now in politics, he sees everything as negotiable. And by the way, I kind of agree with him. And in terms of the volume of stuff pouring out of the White House, a lot of people think it's chaotic and so on, and ill thought through and so on. I don't really agree. I think he spent 4 years systematically planning and plotting to hit the ground, if he got back in, unbelievably hard. And I think that's what we're seeing. And no, I might be wrong, but I do believe that.
Okay, look, here's the system, and you can debate this amongst yourselves to your heart's content, but the system is not designed and cannot cope with this much going through it without having severe disruption and unintended consequences. Now, that might be fine for those that want it like that. And that's not my position. It's not for me to take a position. But in the case of tariffs, is it, okay, and the other thing is it really good to have the Canadian Prime Minister, soon to be ex, standing in front of his people saying, hey, we thought we were friends. This is not how you treat allies. Because in that scenario, fine, you won your deal. But what's your long-term damage?
Yeah, but you know what? I think I watched Trudeau sniffling and sniveling like he normally does. He'll go down as one of the wokest.
So basically, they're talking about Donald Trump and his executive orders, or his orders shutting down the USAID and other government agencies. My name is Elifar Jojo. I'm a college student. I'm going to give my opinion on all of this based off of what they say. I'm assuming Piers Morgan is for Donald Trump's plans, and I don't know his name. The one in the white shirt and the purple tie will be against it. Not really sure, but let's continue.
Leaders of the country in the history of mankind. He wouldn't even allow me to say that phrase. He famously said to a bunch of students when they said, mankind, one small step for mankind, it's one step for people kind, we say in Canada. It's like he was ludicrous and ends up incredibly unpopular. He's on his way out. So for him to stand there and try and belatedly go out on a high whacking Trump, I'm like, I wonder what most Canadians are thinking. Because Trudeau's incredibly unpopular now. I reckon, Richard, I reckon a lot of Canadians will be thinking, like a lot of Brits are now thinking, well, we have a pretty weak, pretty socialist left-wing government now. It's incredibly unpopular very quickly. I reckon a lot of them are thinking, I wish we had a bit of this action going on. It may not all be right, but my God, there's a kind of vim and vigor to it all.
Yes, I agree with you. God, this is getting deeply distressing for me. Twice in one of you. Yes, I think there is a section in Europe, look in Germany, look in the UK, that is saying, hang on, why are they getting so much from their leaders and we're getting non-stuff and nonsense? But I worry about the long-term animus. If you think about it, Colombia, South Africa, all the aid policies, the EU, the UK, Canada, Mexico, if these are your allies, and that's how you treat them, I'd hate to see how you treat your enemies.
Yeah, but I think a bit of tough love. Let's bring Cenk Uygur in here.
So here's what I'll say. Everyone who says that what Donald Trump is doing is not chaotic, they're a liar. And the reason I say they're a liar is because what is chaos? Chaos is disruption. Chaos is disorder. And what Donald Trump is trying to do is create a new order. He actually has a phrase that says, drain the swamp. So if anyone has ever deep cleaned a room or deep cleaned a house, you have to throw things away or get rid of all the junk that you don't need. And that's basically how Donald Trump views what he's doing. And when you're deep cleaning something, or you're really, really doing something, it gets chaotic at first because you have to figure out everything you're going to throw away and everything you're going to organize. So it's only been 10 days since Donald Trump has been in office. So right now it does seem very chaotic because it technically is chaotic. There's a lot of disrupting. He's disrupting the status quo, completely disrupting it. I think he wants to do that on purpose. He wants to change the status quo. He's ordering everything around in the way that he wants to order it. These things are done on purpose. So the reason I'm saying this is because Donald Trump is doing something that is chaotic for the United States. If it wasn't chaotic, it wouldn't be a new system. Y'all get what I'm saying? It would be the same system. But his goal is to create a new system. So yes, it's chaotic for the time being. Whether or not it will remain chaotic, I don't know. I don't know. But right now it is, because his goal is to, like he said, he wants to make America great again. He wants to create something new, something that we haven't really seen yet. And because of that, we haven't seen it. He's moving things around. He's doing things that have never really been done before in the government. But let's continue.
You know, maybe it's because I know Trump so well. You know, I've read all his books and I know how he operates. I know how he thinks. I know how he works, even though he can be, even to people who know him very well, very unpredictable. But I've watched all this tariff thing go down. You know, I'm going to do 60% tariffs on China. No, he's not. But what he wants China to think is there's a leader in town who's not going to take any crap from us. And someone who for 30 years has banged on about how China's been ripping off America. So we better take him more seriously than we've had to take Joe Biden, who didn't know what day it was. And I do think part of Trump's thinking and strategy in this sort of ferocious first couple of weeks is to send the message, America's woken up and you better all get used to it very quickly.
Yeah, look, as usual, I'm going to give a balanced answer here because that's the correct answer. But first, if you think the Canadians love this, you're totally wrong. They booed the American national anthem in a hockey game.
A few of them did.
Because they're really, yeah.
Well, let's take a look.
Okay. I mean,
let's take a look. Look, there's a massive stadium.
Like a neocon.
Hang on. No, you said they all booed him. Let's play the clip. Let's play the evidence.
They did.
Viewers. Let's hear the crescendo of booing, apparently. I got booed louder than that coming through Heathrow Airport the other day by a bunch of pro-Palestinians who recognised me. They were sort of semi-laughing as they did it.
Okay.
So, look, I don't think this was Canada rejecting Trump. I do think there are a lot of people in Canada, just what I'm seeing on social media, who actually think, you know what, Trudeau, you've had your chance, you blew it, and actually we get this. It's called strong leadership.
Okay, so far I've talked 5 seconds, but thank you for proving my point. They did definitely boo, and if you got booed louder, that's kind of on you. So this neocon idea of if we attack them, they'll love us is ridiculous. No, they don't love us. Now, you say also, hey, Trump's been planning for 4 years. But when people said, hey, they're planning to do this Project 2025 for 4 years, the right wing flipped out and said, no way, that's not going to happen. No way. He's not planning at all. And then he gets in office and he's doing it pretty much exactly like Project 2025 said. In fact, he put the author of Project 2025 as the head of the Office of Management and Budget. And so they've done some things that I think are terrible, cutting U.S. aid. Now, all of a sudden, the donors are in charge of the Treasury, one of the worst ideas I've ever heard. Now, having said that, I understand what's going on with the tariffs.
Do you mean Elon
Musk?
Bluffing. Do you mean Musk?
Oh, I mean Musk, and apparently a whole army of Silicon Valley CEOs have now been empowered
you know what?
to access all of the money of them.
Here's my problem. Here's my problem with all of this. Obviously, I do not agree with everything any president does. I've never agreed unilaterally with a president. However, there's a lot of outrage against Elon Musk and Donald Trump. There's a lot of it. That's what he's saying. But you do realize we have a Congress. And what I mean is, Donald Trump signed an executive order to freeze federal spending. He signed an executive order to freeze federal spending. Do you guys know that the power of the purse lies with Congress? Meaning that that's Congress's job. However, who in Congress said anything? The senator of Virginia said something, but Congress has many other members. How many of them said something about this? Donald Trump said he's closing the Department of Education. How many people in Congress said something? Donald Trump and Elon Musk sent Doge to the Treasury Department and to USAID. They said they're closing it. Who in Congress said anything? The reason I'm bringing this up is because Donald Trump is doing a job. He's doing a job. He's doing what presidents do. They sign executive orders. If there was such a big problem with what he's doing, why isn't the U.S. Congress saying anything? Why aren't they doing anything? Real question. I've heard about 3 members in Congress oppose Donald Trump out of the hundreds. And this is a fair question because you could say people are booing them. You could say everyone's against them. You can say all this stuff. But the people who can literally prosecute them are not doing it. Why? Because they don't care. That's why they're not doing anything. They don't care. They probably agree with him. And here's the thing. I'm bringing up certain powers in the Constitution because, yes, or certain powers in our laws because, yes, these are the laws. You can't change the laws. However, if the side of the law that says, oh, we control this, doesn't say anything, what can you do? This just shows me that while some Americans are against it and some are for it, what is Congress doing? Oh, they're trading stocks. They couldn't care less about what's going on. So thank you that we have someone who cares. One thing you can't deny is that Donald Trump cares. Whether or not you agree with him or disagree with him, he's working right now. What is our Congress doing? What are they doing? They're trading stocks. They're probably on their annual or monthly vacation. Who knows what they're doing? But they're not saying anything about what he's doing. So he's going to do it. What's the, like... Anyways, let's continue.
American taxpayers?
I love it. You know why?
Okay, well, that's because...
Well, no,
right,
to Richard's... No, check, let me explain. To Richard's point...
Because that's a terrible idea.
No, I like it,
hey, you know what, Pierce? Let's put George Soros in charge.
Let me explain.
Let's give George Soros the key to the Treasury.
Let me explain.
Because that's the same thing.
Let me explain.
Oh, donors are great if they're on my side. No, I hate the idea.
It's not about whose side they're on.
It's oligarchy to the max.
All right, let me explain.
You haven't let me get to the part about the tariffs.
Can I jump in? Let me explain what I mean. To Richard's point, yeah, I actually quite like dismantling the status quo of how governments have operated in America for many, many decades. I think it's been largely to the detriment of the American people. So if you get a super brain like Elon Musk, who's a flawed character, don't get me wrong, but he's also got a super brain, gigantic sized brain. You know, for example, in the UK, the National Health Service was a great treasured thing, which we all loved, and we still love the principle of it. But it is literally creaking at the seams and falling apart because a big population now, it can't cope with it. I would love to have a brain like Elon Musk getting stuck into the spending on the NHS and restore it to glory, as he's done to every one of his businesses. So I don't really agree with you. I quite like the idea of these guys ripping into American federal overspending. Why not? And by the way, the American people seem to as well. So they're loving all this.
Pierce. Yeah, they're loving it until they find a couple of $1 trillion missing. And then they're going to go, oh, he had a big brain, but he didn't use it for us. He used it for himself. So you guys are asking us, and by the way, this is the least populous position on planet Earth. Trust the big brain billionaires. You know who else has a big brain? And the right wing would agree. George Soros, not only one of the greatest investors of all time, but according to the right wing, has manipulated the American government to totally work for him for decades. If that's true, he has a giant brain. Should we put him in charge of the Treasury? No, because just because you're smart, if that's even true, doesn't necessarily mean that we should give you the keys to the kingdom.
And here's the thing. I love this discussion. I love it. Because we're saying, what should we do? We shouldn't give him the keys to the kingdom. We shouldn't do this. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at what's happening in life. What is happening today is that they have the keys. Donald Trump has the keys. And the people who would oppose him, or who could literally stop him, Congress, they are trading stocks, making millions of dollars on vacation. That's what they're doing while we're debating whether or not what Trump is doing is right or wrong. All I'm saying is, we can talk about it all we want. But what they're doing, they are actually doing something. Something that our Congress is not doing. The people who can stop them. So let's say you are 100% right. Let's say that you are 100% right about this situation. And you're like, and Piers Morgan agrees with you. He's like, yes, you're right about this. Yeah, let's stop them. Now what? Now what do we do? Nothing. You can't do nothing. You're going to reach out to your congressional member. You're going to try to speak to them. They're going to not respond to your email. They're going to not respond to your call. They're going to get some news from a random Twitter page saying that they just sold $200 million or $200,000 worth of their most valued stock, and they just made an 80% return. That's what's going to happen. That's what's been happening. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Well, let's continue. Actually, I'm going to end this. I feel like this conversation isn't going anywhere. But let me know what you all think in the comments below. Peace.